Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison, and with me, as always, it's Andy Dalton.
Hello.
Every week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us, and this week, we're taking a look at Tangerine.
Tangerine. So a transgender prostitute has newly come out of prison, Cindy, and she's talking to her mate and finds out that her fella cheated on her. So she's on a mission, roaming the streets of LA to find him. So this is a Christmas film, believe it or not. This is the probably one of the least Christmassy Christmas films I've seen. It's brilliant because Andy brought this to my attention when we were going to do this, and it was like, "Have you heard this?" No, I haven't. The niche of this film, let's say, the USP is, and it's unbelievable, is it's shot through with an iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And straight out of the box, that is purely incredible. I just want to go through a few things I didn't like about the film, get them out of the way. So the story itself, it's a bit loose, and there's parts where up and down as it happens. It's a bit all over because she's having little things that people on the way, and she's got a friend, Alexandra, who's like trying to establish a singing career, and the pacing does kind of fall in and out at points. And the other factor is the subtitles. Some of the subtitle work wasn't amazing. There was one point where it was white on white, and I was like, I can't read it, when they were at the dinner table and there's a tablecloth. But literally, those two things are my issues with the film. Everything else is awesome.
I had a similar fear at first, because when that film starts and you don't know exactly what the goal of the film is, and we're cut in between Cindy and her problems with this rumor of a boyfriend, and you assume that she's going to find him relatively quickly and confront him. And then we're also cutting back to the cab. And there's a lot of I don't know what this film's about. And then I realize as that film goes on, it becomes about this really quite ironically tight structure because it's so small. It's a dinky little film that takes place over the course of one evening. And this singular objective of finding out what happened. I ended up really liking this because it's just weird. Everything about it is it's striving to have such a unique voice. These are not characters that you see in a normal film. This isn't a subculture that you discuss in a normal film. It's not just about LA, and it's not just about trans people in LA, and it's not just about prostitution in LA. It's about a niche of a niche of a niche. It's so charming in the way it handles its characters. It's not afraid to have fun with them. Obviously, we could get into the idea of it being about representation on screen, but the film almost doesn't care about the fact that it's about representation, and that's almost the best way of doing representation. One of my favorite things about this is the relationship that she actually has with a boyfriend, because there's no real judgment there about the fact that she's trans and he's not. Other people might have their judgments, but they're genuinely in love. In whatever weird form their version of love takes, they're actually in love.
But for me, as I said, what won it is the interactions of that community together, whether that community likes or doesn't like each other. You have slurs in the street from others, but then you have people really accepting of the same people.
I love the fact that it's not just the character work that's weird and quirky. The filmmaking is as well. Ignoring the technical thing for a second, every attempt at framing, just every time they try and do either, whether it's supposed to be an over-the-shoulder shot or just a static sort of wide or something, they're always trying to give it its own unique flavour.
And a lot of that, for me, is down to Kitana Kiki Rodriguez, who plays Cindy.
Yeah.
But you also got Maya Taylor as well, Alexandra. They work so well together. I know they're kind of diverse and do their own quest, but they're so good. Alexandra is a bit more lacks a bit more low-key and go through this. And I didn't see that twist coming at the end, how she'd also had sex with Chester as well. And how she's just meandering through the streets trying to find herself through music. It's all about her big night and singing. And I loved that scene when she was singing. For all the way that this film has with the kind of the range of music and genre, it came to that scene and it kind of it put the focus in that scene. I thought, fucking awesome, right? Awesome. But to go on that, Cindy is just an absolute machine, just going through the streets, just going, here, right? She's going into that store with that guy. He's like, I'm trying to do my business here. And she's like, where is it? It's this girl that begins with a D, and then later on goes back and he says, where's our fella sort of thing. And she's on a rampage.
I think it works because supposedly the two performers, they knew each other beforehand. They were already friends before being cast in this. And obviously the two of them are not professional actors.
Oh, really?
Mia Taylor had said in an interview, I think post this film coming out, that she actually worked as a sex worker in Hollywood.
Oh, really?
And I think you can feel a lot of that authenticity. It's a very difficult character to sort of play. The whole shtick behind even making this thing as a mobile film to begin with is to be as low key as possible, to spend as little as possible. You know, their money went into securing locations, and their money went into paying extras and additional actors and stuff.
And sound equipment.
And sound equipment. Choosing an iPhone 5S, I'm sure was a little bit of like, let's get a bit of notoriety for shooting on an iPhone 5S. This is sort of like one of those, not necessarily a progenitor to mobile film festivals, but definitely one of the things that really solidified it as a type of filmmaking. And the fact that they managed to get such a beautiful image out of it is incredible, because it's not hard to shoot a film on a mobile. It's not. What's hard is to shoot a film on a phone that looks this good. Because
apparently, a lot of that was down to something called a Moondog Labs lens. They had like a custom fit lens for the camera, and they said we didn't even mention the director Sean Baker. He said in an article, he said that a lot of that was down to that particular lens to actually make it look that good.
Those Moondog Labs adapters, they're 1.33 anamorphic, right, which gives you a sort of a widescreen effect. It's anamorphic is shooting like a lot of what old cinema used to be. A lot of filmmakers today actually don't bother shooting anamorphic. A lot of people are just shooting 16:9 crop. There's also, arguably more important, is an app called Filmic Pro.
Yeah, and $8 was it?
$8, worth every single penny, because that app is the thing that basically will let you control that camera almost as an entirely manual camera, and even more importantly, bypasses compression. Because if you look at the details of this film, that's what stops it looking like it was shot on a phone. Filmic Pro is the savior of this little thing for that camera. They should have paid him at least $16.
Well, they also use a Steadicam as well, like natural kind of like standard, filming techniques. Steadicams used quite often in films.
Which, like, what a perfect way of solving the problem, right? If you've got low production value, how do you add production value? Move your camera. So what do? They move it constantly, and that adds that frantic nature of the film.
But one thing that caught me out this film is the use of sound. And I'm thinking, and it's something that, Andy being a lecturer, it's something that we have conversations about, trying to get students to incorporate good sound in the films. A lot of people will just, will just get a boom mic for two people, and it's just like that's not enough. You're shooting on an iPhone 5S, so you how do you compensate for what could be a lesser image, let's say, for argument's sake? Well, you fucking boost the shit out of the sound. And it doesn't end with the sound design alone. The eclectic use of genres in this film, from your deep, wherever it was, kind of like electronic music, to ambience, to some parts classical, to that scene I was on about before, Alexandra, where she sings. The use of music in this film, whether it's transition a scene forward or even using a background or tie a scene together, is fucking well played. It's not often you see someone pick a soundtrack that diverse, let's say. And again, it's going back to what you were saying about the way they shot the film, the way that they've done everything is a bit outside the box. It's got an identity, this film. Really, really, really fucking blew me away.
Yep, it's good stuff. So there is Tangerine. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of Tangerine. But Andy and I are going to be back once again next week, where we're doing a bit of a special episode. So until then, you can get watching.
Cheers, guys.